So the aim is to cover the content roadmap of the region. Without further ado, I'm going to go straight to asking Ben a question. Where do you place your bets? And what factors do your choices depend on? Movies, drama series, cooking shows, reality shows?
I would say movies and narrative television shows are our focus. As far as what we place our bets on, I mean, we start with stories. It's all about stories.
Okay.
So we don't say, oh, we want something in this genre, oh, we want something in this genre. I mean, we try to balance things out as much as we can. But when we find a story that we love, that's what we focus on. As far as we are heavily invested and focused, not fully focused obviously, but with our partnership with NBC Studios and Majid Al Futtaim, we are looking a lot into Saudi Arabia to make content there.
When you look into Saudi Arabia, are you going out of dramas? Are you looking at reality shows? Are you considering reality shows?
Not as much. I mean, nothing's off the table, but narrative fiction is our focus.
Wissam, from your side.
So traditionally as View, we're very focused on drama series and movies. Right? Having said that, we're very focused in terms of our original strategy on what type of drama series do we commission. And we categorize as View Original. And our strategy in that has two very simple folds. Fold number one is we only commission a drama series that is focused on the Gen Zs. And that's for the very simple reason of, this is a very big segment of any of the markets that we're focused on. But it's also very much underserved when it comes to premium content, especially when it comes to drama series. And the other fold is, it borrows from the first fold as well, is we very much want to go in a non-traditional route when it comes to picking the genres, the formats of these drama series. One simple example is going off the 30-episode kind of format, because this is not something that we believe is attractive or the young generation have time for. We also don't believe a story needs 30 episodes to be told, right? So that's in a nutshell where we're placing our bets. Focus on the Gen Zs and explore with non-traditional genres and non-traditional formats.
Interesting. Asim, you're a script writer.
Yeah.
So when you decide to write something, do you take any of those into consideration? Do you look at what the market needs, or you just write whatever you want to write and then we go out to the market and explore?
Well, there's the part which is personal, where I write whatever I want, but this is not going to be selling anything, But so I have to take the other way, which is the business way. And from, mingling with people, trying to see different ages and ethnics, and try to see what kind of genres they're actually more interested. This is where it actually drives me to write, but we're more focused on sci-fi and particular genre, crime and thrillers and that kind of things, where it's appealing for the new generation.
Do you usually communicate it with producers before you start writing, or you write something and then you move it to producers?
There's no kind of communication until now. There's no database for us, so that's the problem. We don't have the database to understand this medium, in terms of how to write, or what kind of genres we want to write. So, for example, if Wissam is having some kind of a database that can serve us, and share it with us, that will be also great, to understand, are they more interested in 3 episodes, 6 episodes, and what kind of type and genre they're looking for. So, and from that perspective, we can actually build our content, our original content to that.
Wissam, how are you using your database?
So I think I was going to jump in, and thanks for asking that question.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We definitely share all that knowledge with the content creators once they're on board and once we're working together. There's two ways that we utilize data. One is through our extensive market research that we've launched a couple of years ago, which gave us a very deep understanding of what pulls the Generation Z audience towards original content. So we have different themes that we reverse engineer into any concept that comes in, whether to appeal to specifically to the Saudi audience or to the Egyptian audience and what have you. So that very much is what we look into when we receive new concepts, but also once we onboard a concept and we embark on a development journey with the content creators, we make sure that all of these themes and all of that knowledge is reverse engineered into those concepts. And the more we operate, the more we learn and gain insights from our analytics, and a lot of that stuff is influencing our buying decisions, our mindset when we're listening to a certain pitch, and definitely what we provide in terms of data or insights to our content creators and our partners as we embark on the development journey together.
Yeah, Serge, you guys are distributors,
Yes.
producers, and so many other. You have so many other hats. Cinema owners. Do you take any of those analytics into consideration when you buy product?
Well, definitely. So let's discuss for OTT, for instance, because this is the main topic. The data that we sum and the team at View and collect and put together is what drives us in acquisition. Let's talk about the acquisition side.
Yes.
We obviously need to cater to a public and to our viewers and to a community that want to follow shows, movies, etc. We don't have the privilege of having a platform to decide that for us and when we're acquiring. That's why the conversation is always super open, very open with all the different OTT platforms, and they tell us, the trend today is people want to watch X kind of content. So we have to concentrate on acquiring that content and going to the production side, talking to production houses
Yes.
and script writers to push them and develop that kind of genre for that specific moment in time. When this shifts, it's the OTT's job, it's the platform's job to tell us, guys, this was in, that's what the public wanted for a specific period of time. Now we have something new coming up. And us as distributors, we have to always be on top of that game and follow the trend, because at the end of the day, it's there for a reason. People, we know that they want to watch this, so we need to cater to that need. It's the same for any kind of industries. So that's how we do it. So the line is open. That's the main message. We need to take that data into consideration.
You just have to ask nicely. And
Exactly.
Ben, do you take this into consideration as well? Do you guys take analytics, audience data into consideration when you guys want to produce content?
Probably not. I mean, we do, but probably not as deeply as they do. We obviously, I mean, everyone's focused on Gen Z. I mean, that's fairly, understood.
Yeah.
But for us, again, it goes back to, we think if we can tell a story, that people want to see, then people will see it.
Yeah.
We believe in universal stories.
Interesting. I still believe that the OTT platforms are not sharing enough data
Well, of course
with the
not.
rest of the world.
He's not giving it.
I know, I'm laughing about it because, I mean, you guys are keeping the data
I
for
just
yourself.
said, ask nicely. You're never nice, man. So
Please?
I mean, look at the cinema, guys. Their data is all over the place.
such a bully, man.
Oh, to jump on that point, for us, for theatrical, for cinema, we have a very large team that analyzes every single trend, every single movie, every single genre, everything that works, but that's box office. So the formula is somewhat known to a certain extent. It doesn't change and vary as often as what you would see on OTT platform, where it can really, really shift depending on what you push, depending on what happened in the news, etc. So it really depends on you have to be really up to date.
And listen, I definitely would agree with Ben in some aspect. Data, analytics, and research are there to give us a guide, to give us a direction, right? And me and Ben were part of a very interesting session in LA a little bit, I mean, maybe a year ago or somehow, where we've met with a lot of top executives and commissioners from big American networks. And I think the common theme that we've heard from them is, yes, research will give us a guide. Yes, it will give us a direction. But if we had followed every time research told us not to do a certain show, then a lot of the big hits that we know today would not have existed.
Yes.
Right? So in our business, it's, you need to listen to your gut every now and then.
In fact, this will take me to my second question. You are focused a lot on local product.
Local, is that what you said? Yes.
I mean, you have a lot of local products on
Yes.
your platform. Can you tell us a little bit more about the trend in regional buyers' preferences? I mean, what's the trend right now? How people are, where are they going?
I mean, listen, preferences are different from segment to segment and from country to country. We have made the very conscious decision to take the local approach for a few reasons. One is that's how we want to be seen in the market, and that's globally has been our direction, is to provide authentic local content for the local audience. And in that respect, we focus all of our licensing and commissioning efforts to provide that proposition for our audience, which can be challenging on a licensing front, because as we all know, there isn't really enough local Arabic content out there that will allow us to provide a substantial SVOD or premium proposition for our audience, which makes our original strategy very important in terms of quality, but also quantity, to create that proposition and to give the audience a very big reason, not just to come, but to stay as well.
Yeah. Serge, you guys been acquiring movies for a long time, and then recently you decided to go into original production. What about the balance? Are you guys shifting more into original production because of what he just said, because the market is thirsty for original product? Or you're keeping the balance between acquisition for the sake of the US dollar sign versus the local production with Ben?
It's not specifically for the US dollar sign or the dollar sign. It's to Wissam's point. We need to, when we distribute, we need to have quantity. Quality is surely needed, but quantity has to be there. I think the local production is getting there. It started. It's going to continue growing. But today, obviously, our mix of portfolio is definitely on the acquisition from international titles rather than local, because just by the numbers, it's just there are more prominent quality content internationally than what we have regionally. That being said, we are putting a lot of efforts and talking to a lot of regional content creators to push this, to try to get a more balanced portfolio. To answer directly your question, today the weight is definitely on international content for sure, but the focus is to grow that, is to leverage, to level that balance and bring it hopefully to a 50-50 or even a bigger weight to the regional content, because we know there is a demand. We know that our regional community viewers, they want to see regional content, and I think the opening of Saudi is going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting and see how that can develop as well, because there's a big number of viewers from Saudi, and now that everything has opened up more in terms of entertainment, content, OTT, cinemas, everything. So that's going to be definitely interesting, and to see the data out of it as well will be very interesting.
One day.
Yeah.
So Ben, you think we need to work on developing more production? What do we need to serve those guys better? I mean, he needs more products. And Serge also needs to, he's focusing more on American product in order to survive.
Right.
And he needs more product as well. So where do you guys, what do you guys think about that?
Let's do more products.
There you go.
There you go.
I think
Developing more product, is it going to be possible?
Developing just isn't as easy as it sounds, and it's an unfortunate reality of the region. I've never read your stuff, so I can't speak to you, but I'm sure I'll read it soon.
I'm
We're gonna go to script. We're gonna go to script very soon.
I'm going to have it on the way out the
Waiting
door.
for
But screenwriting here and writing in general is a complex issue. It's not that people aren't talented. I'm not saying that at all. But the way that a lot of the writers, you know, in prior generations and even in current generations have been taught doesn't really fit the kind of content that we're making and what they want. You know, the 30-episode Ramadan arcs are, as Wissam said, they don't work anymore, or they're not doing them. It's not that they don't work, but they're not doing them. We're not doing them, so retraining even talented writers to tell a story in 6, 8, 10 episodes, or much as 90 minutes, who are used to telling it over 30 episodes is a complicated process.
Yeah.
So we're investing heavily in retraining and training new writers to be able to create stories in a way that then we can make it, and then it challenges the stories that come from everywhere else. I mean, the reality is we make local stories, but they need, no matter what anybody says, the world's becoming completely global.
Yes.
And content's becoming completely global. So even local audiences are going to see Western content or Far Eastern content or whatever it is, and the local content needs to compete with that to survive.
So I think the way to do it is,
Sorry, I need to understand something. So basically, you guys are focusing more on training and directing scriptwriters in order to change the way they used to do business.
It all starts with the script.
yes.
Okay.
Without that, you have nothing.
Do you agree?
Yeah, it's about the 30-episode thing. It's always talking about local issues that's only related to a small portion of the society. But what we need to know and understand is talking about international themes that can actually sell to international viewers. And also the mentality of writing. It's never been introduced in our education, in our way of talking and society, and even storytelling. It takes a long time to get into a novel, especially if you see people from the old generation, even new generation, they're taking the same steps. So what really they need to do is to shorten the way of telling the story in a very coherent, and also in creating characters that have dimension instead of the mic. That's my story with the mic.
Not only you, all scriptwriters, they have that problem. But
Yeah. So I think even developing the characters in this region, and especially in the Middle East, they don't really have the skills enough to create a full-fledged character that actually speaks to the viewers. What we see in the TV series is, let's say, one-dimensional characters instead of the four-dimensional character, which is the most appealing from the European and American TV series and films. And that's why we need to develop, train, and also educate in terms of screenwriting, because this is the base of any movie, any TV series. It's like building a house. You cannot just go and tell the architect, okay, build me a house. You need to have a blueprint, and your blueprint in the films and TV series is the script. So you have to write it perfectly so you can have a production that's actually able or can be sold internationally and appeal internationally.
Fair. I'm going to go back to you, Serge. You guys been operating cinemas for hundreds of years, 100 years, in fact.
Absolutely.
How are the OTT service and the shift to digital, did it impact your business? Positive or negative? So let's start what can you tell us? Because I strongly believe that OTT impacted everybody.
Sorry, OTT impacted?
They had a big impact on everybody.
Sure. I'll answer it in two ways. Did the admission decrease for people going to the cinema? No, it didn't. People are still going to the movies. They're still going to the cinemas. Why? Because it's an experience. And OTT platform and cinema and theatrical experiences can they can live together. They're not exclusive in the sense that it's not because you watch content on OTT that you're not going to the movies anymore. They're completely different. Did it actually help us in some way in terms of theatrical? Maybe, because people are have access to more movies, have access to older movies, So sequel movies that come out in the cinemas, that there's a better drive to go and watch the continuation, the sequel, etc. Because as you know, theatrically, well, the equation is very, very straightforward. It's either big production movies that get high success, or sequel movies because they have heritage, etc. So people understand that it doesn't necessarily mean quality 100%. It's about entertainment, and to answer you directly, OTT has its own world, and I think it has a lot of margin to grow even more and more. And even if it goes to the 100% extent that everybody has a subscription or watches OTT, people are still going to go to the cinema and still going to enjoy their popcorn. They're going out to the mall or standalone, whatever.
The whole experience.
Absolutely, and I think they coexist together very nicely.
Do you agree?
What he said. I think, yeah. I mean, we're here to coexist, right?
Yeah.
And you know, this is like the other question, where is OTT cutting the cable? We at View, we believe that, you know, there is various ways for an OTT platform and a traditional broadcaster to coexist, and we've showed that in so many markets, and especially in the Middle East, and there are ongoing conversations as well where we're going to be exploring this model even further. Just like the cinemas, I couldn't agree with Serge more. Nothing is going to replace going to the cinema and having the popcorn and having that cinema experience.
Why are you pushing to play a movie without the cinema window? So
Sorry?
if you strongly believe that we are here to coexist, yet we see OTT platforms trying to play movies without going to the cinemas. They are pushing for movies. They are trying to skip the cinema window, let's put it that way.
You should ask the OTT platforms that are doing that.
So you're not doing that.
So
And you have no plans to do it.
Let's talk. No, but seriously, I mean, listen, no, we don't have anything in the pipeline as such. We are actually exploring a few projects on movies that we will co-produce as View Originals as well, that will go through the normal cycle and have a theatrical window just like any other theatrical release. So, no, we believe in coexisting. Right?
So having a theatrical window is not going to affect the exclusivity of the product on the platform. That's what you're saying.
Why should it?
I think so.
I don't know. What do you think, Ben?
I think certain OTT services want to put theaters out of business and certain ones don't. And as far as I know with their model, I do believe Wissam is very genuine about coexisting. I mean, of course, you want to make originals because certain originals bring subscribers, but subscribers also want to see movies that were in the theater that they missed. So I think it's twofold. And I mean, I know they do a lot. I know obviously they do a lot of the latter, and doing the former makes sense for them. But I do think they coexist.
Okay.
Can I jump on what you're saying, Roni, what you're asking? I think it all depends on the technical term of the theatricality of the content. If an OTT platform produces an own production, produces content, and that content, that movie that needs to have this grand viewing experience, I think they would be shooting themselves in the foot not to put it in theaters. The exclusivity to put it first on the platform is good to keep, like you said, to sustain subscribers and get new subscribers. But at the end, if a movie gets enhanced when it sees in the theaters for a specific kind of movie. Right. So if they tend to produce these kinds of movie, then they should definitely put them in the theatrical window, because it would be killing the movie or keeping it in a box rather than really experiencing the whole thing. I don't know if you guys agree or.
There's definitely a very big promotional aspect for the movie when it's during the theatrical window that will give it miles of promotion and reason to watch, so to speak, once it hits the window of the OTT platform. So that's, on the side of the argument where, coexistence is good. But I think on the other side also there are benefits of movies going straight into OTT,
no,
right?
definitely.
Not every movie will make it into theatrical, right? So it gives that reach and it gives that opportunity for content creators also who are unable to put their movie on a theatrical window for one reason or another to have that avenue of distribution on an OTT platform. So you can also see it as a breathing space for a lot of content creators.
Are you taking that into consideration, Ben? Are you guys taking into consideration producing movies that will not go to theaters and go straight to OTT platforms?
Yeah, no, we take that into consideration. I mean, we're open to both. We're not exclusive to things that have to go theatrical. I think for that wasn't me. That's a first.
I think someone disagrees with you.
And Sam looked around when that's
I think that listen, some movies, to add on to what Wissam was saying, some movies are just better just to put on OTT. I do think if the OTT platforms looked at their original films and they thought they could clearly make money on it, because you have to remember, making a movie on a theatrical window is complicated.
Yes.
So is it worth the cost? And I think if they think it's worth the cost, they'll put it out theatrically. But some smaller, say, walk and talk style movies that don't have big cinematic experiences make sense to go straight to the platforms.
Fair. Saudi market, this is the talk of the town now. So how do you guys expect the opening of cinemas in Saudi is going to impact the film sector? Serge?
I mean, we're, I think, one of the luckiest regions, the luckiest in the world to experience what we're experiencing now with Saudi. We're living the birth of cinema in Saudi, which is fantastic to see. On a commercial level, obviously, we'll make. Revenue stream from cinemas is going to grow, the market's going to double, etc. But most importantly, I think the viewers in Saudi, the population in Saudi, will get to be exposed to some really cool theatrical content that will, I'm hoping, push a lot of production, a local production, and a lot of companies to really create quality content for those viewers, because at the end of the day, that's very important. The more you get exposed to quality, the more you get exposed to not only in terms of content, but in production, and the quality in production, quality in acting, quality in a lot of things. You tend to expect, and you raise your bar, and you want to see some really amazing content being produced. And I think this is where production houses and script writers and even OTT platforms need to start pushing that kind of regional content. So I hope we're going to see the birth of if I may call it, a second Egypt, in the sense
Another Egypt.
Yes, in the sense where we'll have a completely new machine of production for Saudi, and hopefully we'll get there. I don't know, but I mean, it's very interesting.
Well, and from a business standpoint, I mean, not this year, and probably not maybe by the end of next year, but certainly by the end of 2021. What Saudi is going to be able to provide is the ability for all of us to model out how we think theatrical is going to look. Right now, there's no way to model it out.
Absolutely.
The UAE theaters are way too complicated, and there's way too few Arab-speaking moviegoers in the UAE to properly depend on anything, to be honest with you. But Saudi, because of their constitution of who their population is and how many Arab speakers are going to the movie theaters, I think that's going to, be a benefit for all of us, because we can actually look at it, think, put a range in and decide how we want to do this. And I think it'll bring the level of content up greatly.
Sam, do you think this is going to help your reach in Saudi as an OTT platform? More cinemas, more reach to OTT platforms, going to trigger people to, to look at OTT in a different way?
Listen, I think
Saudi,
if the expansion leads to more Saudi content being created that scales and that is interesting and that is sought after by the audience, then definitely this is something that is going to benefit any player in the content industry moving forward. Saudi is one of the biggest markets in the region when it comes to content. I think I am, as a Saudi, very excited about what's happening. And Asim, I'm very sorry to keep you hanging there, man, but I didn't have time to iron my thobe in the morning. So but next time I'll join you wearing the Saudi attire. But I think we also need to be patient, right? We also need to be patient for two reasons. Reason number one is you need to give the Saudi audience time to start enjoying Saudi films because they're not used to watching Saudi films,
True.
right? So this is something that we need time in order for that genre to grow among the Saudis themselves, right? And I think the second thing on a more technical level is you need to wait, we need to allow time for the industry to grow. I know that we have a lot of Saudi writers and producers and directors, but this is not what's going to help the industry rise. You need the completion of the full circle of the crew, which is a critical mass that doesn't exist, right? That's the car. You have the drivers, right? But you don't have the car yet. And you know, we were talking this morning, you and I, where someone was telling me I think Saudi should have one big movie that makes it next year in Cannes. Where I really think, you know, a success metric for the Saudi film industry would be 40 average films or 50 average films in the next 12 to 18 months. Just in terms of, you know, getting the audience used to the genre of Saudi films, right? And building the experience, building the technical.
Awesome is the crew in Saudi, the screenwriters, the directors, are ready today to go where Wissam wants to take the Saudi market.
Unfortunately, the let's say the industry, if we're going to call it, but it's still in the baby steps. It's not there. Everyone is working there. Most of them, like 95%, are amateurs who got into the market. That's it. But we're trying.
Or they come from the television background.
Even the television background. The problem is that there's no education. There's no previous experience with international companies. I think what we need is bringing production companies from abroad and probably sticking a director to co-direct the films for 4 or 5 times, 4 or 5 films. Then at that time we can give him his own director.
A non-Saudi director can deliver Wissam the message,
no.
the same message that a Saudi director can deliver?
Oh.
Taking the culture into consideration, taking the fact that there was no cinema.
Well, it starts actually.
I don't think.
I want a clear answer on that.
Listen,
I mean,
if you're asking me about writing, then my answer would be definitely
no.
Right?
Okay.
Directing, it's a yes and no. It depends on the story. It depends on you know. It's not a black and white thing. I do, however, agree with the notion that some Saudi directors need to accept, and sometimes, the co-directing role with an experienced director, be it an Arab experienced director or an international experienced director, in order to build their experience, right? But you know, on the writing, I would religiously say, you know, you can't get a foreigner to write a Saudi story.
In terms of writing, that's the issue that we are having, is bringing international screenwriters to write our own content, which doesn't actually reflect the real, you know, culture and the real aspect of this region. And they write it from their own perspective, and that's what actually dropped in a lot of films and a lot of TV series that we see right now. So we have to bring, give the writers, the professional writers, just the chance, and also take the risk in what they're writing. We're also facing a lot of issues in terms of crossing the borders, or let's say the red lines of our creativity, and in terms of talking about international themes like poverty, like injustice, like you know, corruption. We have to talk about these things to get at the international also theme.
This is where the guy who's paying the money, are you willing to venture something like this with a local talent?
Wissam?
No.
No, sorry.
I think we need to split the conversation, though. There's writing and there's development.
Yes.
Right? And when I was talking, I meant on the writing sense, not the development aspect, which I think is a trait that's still growing in the Middle East. Back to you, Ben.
But to not deflect the question, yes, what we've done a lot of, And what we've been doing more of is we do a lot of mentoring with Western writers. So we bring Western writers on with local and regional writers to help them, not to write their stories for them. We make sure that that doesn't happen. But what we do is we have the local, the local writers write their stories, or they want to tell their stories, and the Western writers help them structure it and help them build it in the way that we want to build. So we actually do put quite an amount of effort and resources into that.
But do you want to stay safe when it comes to stories, or you want to venture what Asim just tackled right now? You want to go into more edgy subject that the Saudi market is not used to?
I mean, I think that everyone artistically naturally gets edgy, but I think that what's edgy in the Saudi market isn't what you would call edgy in Western markets.
Yes.
So I think that mistake has been made in the region, where Western companies come in and they try to do things what they think is edgy, but that's way too edgy for here.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's way over the line. You can get up to the line and you can get edgy here pretty easily. It doesn't take a lot.
Yeah. Excellent.